For Tennessee football, with Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling, joined by our good friend Austin Price of VolQuest and On3 at Austin Priceless, where you find him covering Tennessee athletics on Twitter. Austin, what's up?
Bowling, I'm not sure we can say we're good friends. Maybe Kayla and Ramon and I can.
How long have I known you, Austin? I was, 7 or 8 years old when I first met you? What the heck, man?
I'm playing. Look.
Unbelievable.
So he can't get invited to your Disney trips. Is that what you telling us, man?
What the heck?
I'm my chops about Disney. We got me at 1 week from Friday.
See, there we go. The fall visits is always worth it.
A round of golf in our future, at least. Unbelievable. VolQuest, Austin Price. Austin, did we learn anything about Tennessee Saturday with 71 points and 450 yards rushing on the ground against Kent State over the weekend?
Well, we learned Kent State's terrible.
Yeah.
And we also learned that Tennessee is a mature enough football team to, get in, get out, take care of business, and beat a lowly Kent State team the way you're supposed to beat a lowly Kent State team. So through 3 games, Tennessee has done what they're supposed to do and has, played really good football. Have they been perfect? No. But have they been really, really good? Yeah, they have. And, you can only play the teams that are on your schedule in front of you. And through 3 games, Tennessee has played as well as they possibly could, in my opinion, from a standpoint of operation, getting in, doing what you're supposed to do. They can clean a few things up, which means there's room for improvement. But overall, I don't think you could, you couldn't have scripted a better start to the year for Tennessee's football team.
All right, well, that's all we need to cover on the orange and white game that was essentially played over the weekend. Austin, how big of a week is this for Josh Heupel behind the scenes? Because he's going to answer all the questions correctly in the media and put on the face, this isn't about him, it's about his football team. How different is this week for him, though, in your opinion?
I do think it's a bit different. I think it's a week that he's known was coming for a while, and I thought he handled himself way better than I would have ever imagined yesterday in the media, just kind of how loosey-goosey he was. He was cutting jokes about, the Oklahoma crowd, remaining kind of quiet and out of reverence for him. And, he had some fun with it. And, if the guy's tight, you sure couldn't tell it yesterday. And I think, he has so much love for a lot of people at Oklahoma, much like Peyton Manning loves, Max and Hawk and Frage and all the people behind the scenes. That's who Josh Heupel loves. He loves all the people that he's known for years at Oklahoma behind the scenes. And, getting a chance to see some of those old friends will be something that I think he'll embrace up to a certain point this weekend. And at a certain point, he will turn it off, and it will become focus, and it'll be all about, beating Oklahoma. Because, he knows that, a win this weekend, Tennessee takes a huge step to, the college football playoff probability.
Austin Price, a good friend from VolQuest on 3, joins us on RK Dub every Tuesday at this time. Austin, so the questions about Nico Iamaleava, I think now that you're going to go on the road for a real game in terms of an SEC environment, what have you learned about him over the past, 2 years he's been there and now actually playing that makes you think he's going to be ready for the big type of atmosphere?
Well, Nico obviously has talked about, he talked about, dating back to the bowl game, how he likes road games more than home games. I don't think we'll truly know until he plays in a real road environment, but I think his demeanor is much more like Hendon Hooker. He is never too high, never too low. It's kind of even keel. I think all of that, helps a guy like Nico, in this football game. Again, you don't know until you get out there, how does Tennessee respond, or how does Nico respond if you throw an early pick and give Oklahoma a short field and they score a touchdown? Tennessee's defense hasn't given up a touchdown, dating back all the way to the Vanderbilt game, fourth quarter. And then, Nico, he threw a couple of picks against NC State, but Tennessee was never in doubt in any of those games. Mm-hmm. So, I just feel like, Tennessee's not hit that adversity yet on the season to know how they're going to respond. So I don't think any of us know how Nico will respond on the road. until he actually gets out there. Again, it's easy to say you like those type games. It's easy to think Nico's demeanor is going to help him in these type games, but until he plays in one, nobody truly knows.
Austin, when it comes to these two defensive fronts for Oklahoma and Tennessee, I think both, played some really good football up front, and we haven't even seen, obviously the heart of the SEC schedule yet, but who has maybe the edge here coming into this game in terms of those fronts?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately Tennessee has the edge. And honestly, when I look at the matchup, Kayla, and you just look at it individually, like, tell me where Oklahoma's got the advantage when you start looking position by position. And so that's, I look at it and I'm like, oh, it's a road game. And I think some of the intangibles help Oklahoma. First road game for Tennessee, night game, exciting atmosphere, passionate fan base for Oklahoma. I think, obviously defensively, they're a good football team, but I'm not sure any part of their defense is better than the counterpart on Tennessee's offense. And so, like, when you look at it individually, it feels like, this is a game Tennessee should win. They are the favorite, but I mean, I think, when you look at like a path to victory for Oklahoma, I think it starts with, them taking advantage of a night crowd that could be raucous. Everybody's had a chance to, partake in a few drinks throughout the day and get rowdy. And I think that's where, that's where this thing starts for Oklahoma.
Austin Price of VolQuest and On 3 with us this morning. My friend specifically in this one, okay?
I appreciate that.
With that being said, Austin, one thing that I noticed this past weekend was Lance Hurd was not out there at left tackle. Where is this team as far as health and guys' availability for this upcoming weekend?
Well, Ramon, my good friend, Tennessee is a healthy football team on the whole. I mean, Shamu Murad got a little dinged up Saturday. I saw him walking around the complex yesterday. What does that mean? I don't know. I mean, he did not seem to be walking around with any kind of like huge limp. Like, he's kind of struggled to get off under his own power the other night against Kent State. But again, Shamu Murad is a backup that Tennessee, isn't going to play unless there's injuries in front of it. The rest of the offensive line is healthy. Lance Hurd, I was told last week, could have played against Kent State, but there was no reason to, not when he kind of dinged up his ankle a little bit. Nothing high. It was a low deal, low ankle, and it's treat between, NC State and Oklahoma. He'll be fine. Again, could have played last week, but there was no reason to put him in a weird spot. So Tennessee on the whole is pretty healthy. I think Jordan Ross should be available for this game. We'll see about Cam Seldon. I think he'll be able to go, but most people thought he would be able to go last week, and then he wasn't able to go, coming off missing the NC State game. So we'll see what happens. But I think as far as key players, I don't think Tennessee is going to be without any of their key starters in this football game.
For sure. It's going to be necessary, too. And I brought up something earlier in our show about Tim Banks and his defense. And one thing that teams that have gotten have been, very comparable to the Vols as far as teams and rankings is mobile quarterbacks that you have boxed in and then they get those first downs on third is in long because a loss of responsibility, gap integrity. But Jackson Arnold can run, and that he's their leading rusher at Oklahoma, too. And I'm thinking immediately Spencer Rattler, Ole Miss, right? Running quarterbacks that extended drives. Where does this defense need to be this weekend, Austin, and the task that Tim Banks has for containing Jackson Arnold?
Yeah, I think Tennessee is going to have to, spy him to a degree, especially on third and longs, because, he can do what, Matt Corral did against Tennessee in 2021, which was extend drives by, picking up 3rd and 9 with his legs when, nothing's there and all of a sudden he's left with a lane to run. It's something that Tennessee's going to have to be mindful of. I think that's why somebody like Arion Carter, if he takes good angles, his athleticism and speed will negate, the ability for Jackson Arnold to, extend those drives and have those big plays with his legs. So I think this is an Arion Carter type game. I think this is where the young man from Nashville or Smyrna, has a real chance to, have an impact this weekend, because you're right. I mean, it's something that Tennessee has done a pretty good job of. You go back to the NC State game after, NC State went 3 for 3 on that opening drive. Tennessee finally got off the field. They were 0 for 14 after that, and I'm not thinking Oklahoma's going to be 0 for 14, but, I think Tennessee has to be able to get off the field on third down, a decent amount, or you allow Oklahoma to, one, control the clock, keep it away from your offense. Two, it just puts them in a better position to be able to put points on the board. And so you got to, take advantage of the athleticism you have. You're the more athletic team. You are the more disruptive team, defensive front to offensive front for Oklahoma. And so you got to be able to expose them a little bit.
VolQuest Austin Price with us at Austin Priceless on Twitter, where you follow him covering Tennessee athletics. Austin, we've talked a lot this offseason about Tennessee earmarking a couple games to use Nico Iamaleava's legs and run him a little bit more. Do you see that being an element of the game plan Saturday?
I mean, it certainly could be, Will, but heck, he ran too much for my liking last week. Now, that was not designed.
Right.
that was him tucking and running when nothing was there. But he still has to be, very careful. Tennessee's a, banged up wrist or a sprained ankle away from, I think Gaston Moore would be fine to manage, out a game or so. But I just don't think you can depend on him for more than that, because teams, I think, start to scheme it up. So, I think you have to be careful how much you run Nico. But I think down in distance, spot in the game, I think you absolutely could see, them dial up something, kind of like they did against NC State when he had that, design quarterback keeper that went for about 25-yard touchdown run.
So, Austin, I know Josh Heupel talked to about with Mike Matthews being healthy and getting out there, they were able to use their 4-wide package with him in the mix. Do you see that being something Tennessee uses more in SEC games? How big of an impact do you think Mike Matthews, the talented freshman receiver, makes moving forward?
They love Mike Matthews, and really they love Braylon Staley too, but Matthews is probably going to be one that, finds the field a little bit more this fall than Staley. And now that he's healthy, as long as the hamstring holds up. And so I do think that gives them the possibility to do some different stuff, just like the 2 tight end sets they ran against NC State. What you're seeing is Tennessee's offense, because of their depth and because of how they've built the rooms, is all of a sudden a lot more versatile than it was even in 2022. And that's a scary sign, because that gives Joey Halsley and Josh Heupel a little bit more to work with. And so, it allows them to never be, one-dimensional or even two-dimensional. You can do 3 or 4 different things within the, I wouldn't say the form of a drive, because I don't think they do that, but, within the form of even a half, you can be different looks and cause the defense to really, I think, be back on their heels a little bit.
Austin, I was told that you were trending more to 11-1 season instead of a 10-2.
Well,
same
VolQuest chat, we're always there, Austin.
Austin, what has changed for you? Because Kayla and I would both love to know on this one.
Yeah, we would both love to know this. I'm interested.
Well, I just think it's just Tennessee's defense is, I think Tennessee's corners are elite. I really like Ricky Gibson. I like Jermod McCoy. I think they're solid at safety. I don't think they're just like groundbreaking, but I think because what they are in the front 7, Keenan Peely stays healthy. What they are at corner, it masks a few deficiencies at safety, and so I just think Tennessee's defense, I knew it was going to be good. I'm not sure I thought it was going to be as good as it's been. Now, again, you've not really played anybody through 3 weeks. This is your first real test, but I just think up front Tennessee is elite, and I think that makes a world of difference. And let's face it, I think the offense, now that you've seen what the running backs are capable of, it's going to allow Nico to come along nicely. Not too much is going to have to be put on his shoulders. And so, that's the one thing. If I was Oklahoma, I would do Saturday night. I would put it on Nico's shoulders and say, young guy, if you can beat us, beat us. I would load the box. I wouldn't let Tennessee sit there and run the football on me, because when they're able to run the football like they have done to start the year, it's death by 7 and 8 and 9 yard pops. And, I would make Nico beat you with his arm, because, he obviously can. But, he threw a few squirrely ones against North Carolina State, and he threw a few squirrely ones against, even Kent State last weekend. So I think, again, continue to see him progress. I would put it on his shoulders. But, yeah, I think Tennessee's chances of going 11-1 improve dramatically if, obviously, if they can win Saturday.
Okay, well, the other part to that is then who's the one loss? Because I think we all assume it's Georgia, but, we spoke with Will, and he likes Alabama still this year and what they're trending in. And we also saw a performance from Georgia just recently this last weekend that didn't look great, but I know they're slow burners.
Yeah, it's still going to be Georgia for me. It's again, Georgia. When motivated, Georgia's still the best team in the country. It's easy to kind of we're going to go Kentucky. Look at the last 3 point totals for Georgia and Lexington. They're all similar, right? It's like 13, 15, 17. It's not like this was an outlier. They've done this a few times now. And so I guess for my liking, it still would be Georgia just because it's on the road. But then if you're Tennessee, you want that shot, right? You want to be sitting there undefeated going to Georgia like you were 2 years ago. And, what's the worst that can happen? You walk out there, I guess 9-1 with 2 games left against UTEP and Vandy. I think if you're Tennessee, that's kind of where you want to be. And, I think Tennessee's been really, really good at home under Josh Heupel, and I see no reason why that, they won't be favored to beat Alabama.
Let's go.
He is Austin Price, VolQuested on 3 at Austin Priceless. A must follow on Twitter if you are a Vols fan. Austin, thank you as always, sir. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Yes,
Thanks.
sir. Austin Price, confident.
Yeah.
In Tennessee, in Norman, Oklahoma this week. And why would you not be? ESPN's given him a 71% chance to win this game Saturday.
And you tell me, when you hear Austin speak like this at times, or Hubs, who are super, I think they're conservative in how they think about the Vols. When they start speaking little things like that, then it's probably more true than not.
Right, because they're in that belt. They see what's going on
as
all the time.
As plugged in as anybody.
They'll know way more than they'll ever tell.
You
definitely. Oh, yeah. When you're close to it, you see it a little bit more, for sure.
Let's catch up on the NFL headlines when we come back. There is a quarterback change in the NFL that shocked me yesterday and probably shocked you as well. We'll talk about Carolina and the Bryce Young conundrum coming up next.